Tonight on Cronkite News, Arizona and GCU men's basketball have both punched their ticket to March Madness.
Plus, we see the end result, but just how does the NCAA bracket get finalized? We'll let you in on that and more.
And a new bill may leave a lasting impact on industries in Arizona, such as construction, hospitality, and more. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Sammy Miller.
And I'm Ethan Tuttle. Thank you for joining us.
Ethan, it is finally time for the madness to commence. The NCAA bracket was released last night.
Yeah, Sammy, I might be more excited than anybody else about the NCAA tournament. I've even filled out a few brackets myself. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not giving you or anybody else any secrets.
Ethan, I don't need your secrets. Some people call me Mrs. Bracketology, and some teams from the Valley will be playing in this tournament. Both the University of Arizona and GCU will be competing in the Big Dance. And we will start with the Wildcats, who are the 2 seed in the West region. Their first round matchup will be against Long Beach State, the 15 seed. And if they are victorious, Arizona will face the winner of the 7 versus 10 matchup between Dayton and Nevada. These games will take place in Salt Lake City on the opening day of the tournament on Thursday. Yesterday, Tommy Lloyd emphasized how this year's team has to put the memory of last year's first round exit out of their minds.
Well, last year is last year. I mean, we've never denied it. We've owned it. You know, I mean, it's part of our history, part of our legacy. And, you know, when you're at a program like Arizona, you're going to have great successes, and you're also going to have some things that look like monumental failures. It's just how it goes. And so, you know, we've never avoided it all year. We talk about it. We openly acknowledge it in our program. We're not embarrassed about it. So, you know, we're looking forward to another opportunity this year.
Now taking a look at the other Arizona team going dancing this March, the 12th-seeded Grand Canyon University. The Lopes have officially punched their ticket and are looking to make some serious noise.
Yeah, GCU is going to need not only a ton of noise from their fans, but they're also going to have to play their best ball if they want to get out of their first-round matchup. GCU's first game of this year's March Madness is against the 5th-seeded St. Mary's University. Even though GCU will go into the competition with a better regular season record, St. Mary's is still the favorite to win. But the madness of March can start at any moment, and what better way to start than a first-round upset from the WAC champs? Bryce Drew spoke to what will help the Lopes during this tournament.
This team still has more goals they want to accomplish. And so, you know, I think the guys going last year, some of them, that experience hopefully will help some of the other guys and know kind of what to expect, and the familiarity of getting in the tournament. So hopefully that experience will help us.
It's surreal, you know, every single time you do it, it's just, each one has a different feeling, and you couldn't be even more thankful.
Sticking with GCU, the Lopes had a lot on their plate this past week. In order to get into the Big Dance, GCU had to take care of business in the WAC tournament. Our Riley Swenson was in Las Vegas for the championship game and has the story.
For the second straight season, the GCU men's basketball team is headed to the NCAA tournament thanks to their 89-74 win over UT Arlington in the WAC tournament championship. Despite the 15-point victory, head coach Bryce Drew was the first to say that no matter the circumstances, winning a title is not an easy accomplishment.
Doesn't matter how many teams are in the tournament, doesn't matter what league you're in, doesn't matter where you play it, what time of day. So hard to win championships.
The story of the game was the guard duo of Tyon Grant Foster and Ray Harrison, who combined for 41 points. While the two were lethal on the offensive end, the success translated to their defense.
I think it was like a timeout where coach told me, he was like, Tyon, you can take it to another level with your defense. So I just feel like him and Nuna just telling me that just got me going, because I feel like at the beginning I was a little sluggish.
In addition to those two, the bench came up big as Luke Warr tallied 16 points and Javon Blackshear added 14 of his own. Blackshear is in his 5th season at GCU and is coming off a season cut short due to a knee injury. Coach Drew said he thought Blackshear's performance in the championship game was the best he had played all season.
These last 2 days, you know, that's the guy that we, you know, saw through the years and win so many games for us. And I thought his defense and his energy was just outstanding today.
As we saw here in Vegas, the Lopes have a backcourt duo that can compete with the best of them and guys off the bench who can give Bryce Drew productive minutes. You combine that with some veteran leadership, and GCU appears to have all the ingredients for a possible Cinderella run in the Big Dance. from Las Vegas. Riley Swenson, Cronkite News.
Selection Sunday gave plenty of surprises as to who's going dancing, but much more goes into the bracket structure than just selecting 68 teams. Here's Scott Sanduli to explain how and why certain teams go to certain locations.
We found out who's in and who's out in the 68-team field on Sunday, but the selection committee's work did not stop there. After seeding the teams 1 through 68, the committee has to figure out where to place the schools based on the NCAA's principles for building a bracket that is geographically friendly and competitively balanced. First, they tried to send a team to a place as close as possible to their school's location, as long as the team hasn't played in that arena 3 times in the season. Higher seeded teams get priority on location. We see this preference on the line with the 4 seed, where Auburn has been sent to the Spokane site despite being closer to other available spots for that seed in Salt Lake City and in Brooklyn. Since they finished lower on the seed list to Duke in Kansas, the Tigers get shipped cross country. Looking to split up conference rivals, the NCAA prevents the top 3 teams from the same league from going to the same region, and no more than 2 in a bracket with 8 or less bids. This comes into play with the Pac-12, as number 7 Washington State is heading all the way to the East region, since their conference counterpart, number 2 Arizona, already got the nod to the West. Teams that have already met in the regular season have restrictions on potential rematches. If they have met once already this year, they cannot play each other in the first round. 2 matchups means a delay until the Sweet 16, and a third contest keeps a 4th from happening until the Elite 8. That's why you see 9-seed Michigan State all the way over here in the West region, since a closer option in the Midwest is unavailable. If the Spartans prevailed in the first round of that bracket, that could set them up with their 3rd game of the season against Purdue in the 2nd round, which the rule prevents from taking place until the Sweet 16. So, for the fans asking why their team is being sent hours away or up against a gauntlet of top teams in their region, these main principles serve as the small pieces in the massive puzzle that completes the March Madness picture every spring. And sometimes, none of these rules apply, as is the case with GCU, who gets to play in the West region as a 12th seed. That is just a matter of luck. From the newsroom, Scott Sanduli, Cronkite News.
So with Arizona and GCU both in the West region, they could potentially meet in the Elite 8 game.
Yeah, can you imagine that, Sammy? Both teams making it that far. We know the Wildcats believe they can do it, but that would be a true Cinderella story for GCU.
And not only is the men's team dancing in March, but Arizona women's basketball secured a spot in the first 4 after a regular season filled with many ups and downs. The Wildcats will head out east to Storrs, Connecticut to take on Auburn at 4 p.m. on Thursday to try to punch a ticket into the field of 64. If Arizona is able to shut down the Tigers' offense and win the battle in the paint, then they have a shot of meeting 6-seeded Syracuse in the first round. Adia Barnes has become one of the top coaches in the entire country and is known to be extra special come March. She intends to carry the tradition of excellence into this postseason. And coming up next, a behind-the-scenes look at a revolutionized tool and its impact in the NCAA tournament.
And it's been a beautiful few days across the valley, but how long will these temperatures stick around? Your forecast is next.
What Cronkite News means to me is opportunity.
We do news right at Cronkite News, serving a community ethically, honestly, and truthfully.
And we can provide a necessarily different angle, different voice for those people that really need it.
The students, they have a lot of passion for journalism.
I get to do a lot of stories about the Hispanic community.
And we have access to cover all of these sorts of events and get media coverage of all these different personalities and athletes, and that's just a huge thing.
But it's also a chance for people here to be humanized. Individuals of all walks of life.
Cronkite News will help take the next generation of journalists onto their next careers.
I am old enough to remember Walter Cronkite.
We're putting a lot of pride on his name because we are practicing a lot of the things that he did.
I think he'd be smiling from ear to ear.
I.
We are Cronkite. The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism, from covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros. Students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Sticking with college hoops, the first look at the rendering for the Final Four court has been released today on social media. The renderings include a top-down look at the court, which features the official logo at midcourt in a black border design with multicolored triangles and even a cactus. The court pulls inspiration from the culture and the landscape of the Valley in its design.
And now that March Madness is here, there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes of just a basketball game.
Including all of the statistical data. There's a product that was created by a former Sun Devil that will be in action for each of the 67 games of the Big Dance. Kevin Malater has more on the revolutionary piece of technology.
It all started with a frustration towards an old, outdated system.
There was no such thing as internet up in the press box at that point. And so it kind of snowballed from there. We used to run these old big monitors with telephone wire across the court at the basketball arena. And so I said, there has to be a better way to do this.
Nate Polakar used those feelings to create Stat Broadcast, a website that distributes real-time stats and information from sports events. It's used by 280 collegiate athletic programs across the country, as well as NCAA championship events and the college football playoff. Polakar created the product as a student at Arizona State, combining the skills he learned in preparation for his bachelor's degree in information systems and from his time as a student intern with Sun Devil Athletics Sports Information Department.
We talk about being #1 in innovation, but Nate was ahead of that. So when we talk about innovation, I don't know if Arizona State understands the innovation that Nate Polakar had and how big it is right now, because imagine watching a game with no live stats.
Stat Broadcast doesn't just benefit those who work within the athletic departments, but also those who cover these sporting events, particularly the broadcasters, who take full advantage of the website whenever it's available for their calls.
I look at it as just such a positive tool. You know, we all have a tool basket or a toolbox when we sit down to do a game. And one of the great tools is Stat Broadcast. But I'll be honest, I look at it always more as a positive when I have it rather than a negative when I don't.
With a nationwide consumer base nearly 20 years after its launch in its current form, Polakar has left his stamp on collegiate athletics for a long time.
It kind of blows my mind. I was looking at the statistics the other day, and we did something like 10 million views last month. And it's like, for me to realize that I developed, my code, I was used to, like, when I was younger, I'd put up a web page and we'd be happy if 10,000 people would view it in its lifetime.
Polakar and Stat Broadcast hope that the website's March Madness run goes without a hitch, which would be their own one shining moment. In Tempe, Kevin Malater, Cronkite News.
Polakar wants to evolve and grow his company to new heights. His next steps, taking Stat Broadcast to high schools across the country. And now turning to the weather. It was a beautiful weekend here in the Valley to celebrate some St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, that's right, Sammy. But how long will this weather stick around? To find out, Anthony Remedios joins us now from the Cronkite Weather Center.
Thanks, Sammy and Ethan. The good news is the beautiful weather is sure to continue all throughout the week. But starting things off tonight, a little bit cooler than what we saw over the holiday weekend. Temperatures in the mid-60s this evening. Jumping right into tomorrow, lows still in the mid-50s here in the Valley, 54 degrees in Phoenix, 57 in Lake Havasu. But if you're around the mid-20s of the Grand Canyon and Flagstaff, you're going to want to get yourself that coffee and that hot chocolate. While it may be a little bit chilly in the morning, it is going to be a beautiful day in the afternoon. Temperatures in the mid-70s all across the valley, 76 in Buckeye and Phoenix, 74 in Tempe and Mesa. We'll see those warmer temperatures across all of southern Arizona and the western border, 73 in Tucson, and temperatures still in the mid-50s and high 40s in the northern, across much of the northern parts of the state. And finally, as we look ahead to our full 8-day forecast here, we'll see those clear sunny skies and temperatures gradually warming up to 84 degrees by Friday. Perfect for some final Cactus League spring training before those partly cloudy skies and cooler temperatures return on Sunday and into the early parts of next week. That's all for today from the Cronkite Weather Center. I'm Anthony Remedios. Back to you at the desk.
Coming up next, Arizona officials want to be prepared before the weather starts heating up. When we come back, find out how to play a crucial role in preventing wildfires in the Grand Canyon State.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
this is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage,
against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news,
the bill also gives parents the ability to sue,
and entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia.
From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. I'm Eric Liss with a look at the headlines across Arizona. A House referendum is targeting undocumented workers and their employers, which could result in higher prices in construction, landscaping, hotels, and restaurants. Our reporter Denson Cortez has been following the measure for the past few weeks.
Thank you, Eric. House Congressional Referendum, or HCR 2060, is a ballot measure that would build upon the E-Verify Act from 2008, mandating employers to use the E-Verify program with consequences if not followed.
In February, House Speaker Ben Toma proposed a referendum that would bypass the governor's signature and target undocumented workers and their employers, calling it one of the toughest anti-immigration laws ever written.
Our message to illegal immigrants is simple. If you want to take advantage of Americans, go somewhere else.
HCR 2060 expands on the Legal Arizona Workers Act, commonly known as the E-Verify law. The act requires employers verify the legal status of new hires. Independent contractors were excluded under the 2008 law, but Speaker Toma says HCR 2060 would look to close that loophole.
It strengthens law enforcement's ability to enforce the law by making it a Class 6 felony if someone refuses to use E-Verify when required by law. Creates hefty fines for those who hire illegals at $10,000 per violation.
Experts predict the impacts could be wide-ranging across numerous job sectors.
Construction continues to be a really tough job, but if we're not going to fill it with undocumented workers the way we have historically in this state, then we're going to have to pay for it.
Arizona State University economics professor Dennis Hoffman says the effects of a measure like this will fall on Arizonans.
Along with that change, be ready to ante up. It's going to cost more to stay in a hotel. It's going to cost more to get labor done around your house.
Democrats and some business owners gathered at the Capitol to voice their objections, saying HCR 2060 would not only hurt the state's economy, but also renew fear among Latinos.
The war on all improvement we've made since SB 1070.
14 years ago, SB 1070 was an effort to give local police the power to enforce federal immigration laws in the state. However, 2012 U.S. Supreme Court ruling struck down most of that law. Beyond the fear, Monica Villalobos, CEO of the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, says the ballot initiative would hurt Arizona's booming economy.
It will have even steeper repercussions with the amount of internal backlash that bills like this tend to have. Anything laced with anti-immigrant sentiment for the sake of a political statement is just bad politics.
And to the sounds of it, it looks like Republican lawmakers have heard critics and have questions of their own. Within these past weeks, we've reached out to numerous Republican lawmakers that were at the original press conference for HCR 2060, with none too few getting back to us. We caught up with Senate President Warren Peterson after the press conference.
Get your quick comments on, as Senate leadership, what is the plan for HCR 2060?
Yeah, so I think I told it to you out on the lawn. It's the same thing that's happening with all bills. It's in the Senate right now, and it's being deliberated. Right now, there's been some possible defects. I mean, obviously, I personally believe in direct consequences rather than indirect consequences, so I share some of those concerns. So,
after passing the House, the bill is currently in the Senate, and Republican leadership is uncertain about HCR 2060's future.
Republican leadership has not assigned HCR 2060 to a Senate committee hearing, and if it does not get assigned one soon during a period of time, leadership would silently kill the ballot initiative. In the newsroom, I'm Denson Cortez.
Meanwhile, Governor Katie Hobbs vetoed a bill today that could have changed minimum home sizes, among other things. The bill, dubbed the Arizona Starter Homes Act, would have changed local zoning rules. Supporters say it would cut out red tape, making it easier for developers to build new homes. But critics say it gave too much power to those developers. The governor called this bill, quote, a step too far, and she says she wants to find a better balance. And the governor issued a warning today about the upcoming wildfire season. Despite the beautiful March weather we're having here, experts are predicting this year could have a higher than normal activity in parts of the state. Lauren Bly joins us now to tell us what areas might be impacted.
You may have noticed the greener than normal deserts and grasslands, and that's what firefighters call a heavy fuel load. They're predicting it could have an impact on wildfires across the Sonoran Desert, within the Tonto National Forest and into Cochise County. Today, Governor Hobbs gathered with members of the State Forestry Fire Department and others at the Capitol to talk about the potential of this year's fire season. Experts note that parts of the state have more than doubled the amount of fuel compared to past years because of winter rains. The governor highlighted the importance of staying prepared and doing your part to help out this fire season.
9 times out of 10, wildfires are caused by people. So it's critical we are all doing our part to prevent them.
Making sure that your lawn is irrigated, make sure that you're trimming up your bushes and your trees, and also removing combustibles. And that could be excess building material, that could be liquids from doing vehicle maintenance, etc.
Last year, the state forester says the firefighters responded to more than 1,800 firefights on state, federal, and tribal lands, with more than 71% reported as human caused. In the newsroom, Lauren Bly, Cronkite News.
Arizona voters are headed to the polls tomorrow for the state's presidential preference election. While President Joe Biden and former President Trump have secured their party's nominations for the presidential race, voters are still encouraged to vote on their choice. Only voters registered as Democrat or Republican can vote in this election. Some voting centers were open today, but tomorrow is the official election day, and centers open at 6 a.m. If you're registered in Maricopa County, visit maricopa.gov to find a voting center near you. That's it for the news headlines. I'm Eric List. Sam and Ethan, back to you.
Thanks, Eric. Coming up after the break, history made at a women's soccer game.
That's right, but the soccer team's win isn't the historic part. After the break, why fans from all over the world are celebrating what happened at this stadium over the weekend.
What Cronkite News means to me is opportunity.
We do news right at Cronkite News, serving a community ethically, honestly, and truthfully.
And we can provide a necessarily different angle, different voice for those people that really need it.
The students, they have a lot of passion for journalism.
I get to do a lot of stories about the Hispanic community.
And we have access to cover all of these sorts of events and get media coverage of all these different personalities and athletes, and that's just a huge thing.
But it's also a chance for people here to be humanized. Individuals of all walks of life.
Cronkite News will help take the next generation of journalists onto their next careers.
I am old enough to remember Walter Cronkite.
We're putting a lot of pride on his name because we are practicing a lot of the things that he did.
I think he'd be smiling from ear to ear.
I.
We are Cronkite.
At Cronkite News, learn to work behind the camera for studio production. Our students spend time learning the ins and outs of all that it takes to run a newscast. From setting up the studio to building exciting graphics, studio production provides a job for everyone. Whether it be running audio, technical directing, or directing the newscast, students can experience the action behind the scenes. Join our team today.
Welcome back. A historic moment over the weekend in Kansas City.
Yes, Ethan. A stadium in KC is now the world's first sports stadium dedicated to a women's sport. And the Kansas City Current played their very first game at CPKC Stadium on Saturday. As for Saturday's game, the Current squared off against the Portland Thorns and won 5-4.
That's it for Cronkite News. Thank you so much for joining us.